The night is quiet now. The air has begun to cool after another long day beneath the Egyptian sun. Somewhere beyond the dark horizon, the Nile River continues its slow and patient journey through the land, just as it has for thousands of years. Its gentle waters move without hurry, reflecting small stars that shimmer across the calm surface. Along its banks, villages rest beneath a blanket of peaceful silence. Mud brick homes hold the warmth gathered during the day. Palm leaves barely move in the soft desert breeze. Somewhere in the distance, a dog lets out a single bark before settling once again into sleep. There is no need to rush tonight. Allow your breathing to become slow and comfortable, as though you are sitting beside the river itself. Imagine warm sand beneath your feet. Feel the faint scent of damp earth carried from the water. Hear the tiny sounds that belong only to quiet places. The whisper of reeds. The soft splash of a fish near the bank. The distant call of a night bird floating through the darkness. Long before towering temples reached toward the sky, before grand monuments became symbols known across the world, another kind of work quietly shaped Egypt every single day. It did not leave behind golden treasures or carved statues. It rarely appeared in stories about powerful rulers. Yet without it, almost nothing else could have existed. It was the careful movement of water. Tonight we follow one forgotten canal. Not a famous canal with a name remembered by history, but one of countless narrow waterways that quietly carried life from the Nile into fields where ordinary families depended on each harvest. It was dug by patient hands. It was repaired every season. It filled slowly with river water, and then, almost without anyone noticing, it transformed dry earth into fertile land. Its story belongs not to kings but to farmers. As the first hint of dawn slowly approaches, the village still sleeps. The stars have not yet faded. Inside one modest home, built from sun-dried mud bricks, a family rests on woven reed mats spread across the cool floor. Their blankets are simple linen cloths. Clay jars stand against one wall. A basket filled with onions waits beside a low table. The scent of yesterday's bread still lingers faintly in the room. The father wakes before anyone else. There is no loud alarm. Only years of routine have taught his body when morning begins. He opens his eyes slowly. For a few moments he listens to the peaceful silence surrounding him. Somewhere outside, another family has begun to stir. A wooden door creaks softly. Sand shifts beneath quiet footsteps. He rises carefully so he does not wake the children. The floor feels cool beneath his bare feet. He slips on simple sandals made from woven reeds and steps outside into the early morning air. Above him, the sky has begun changing from deep blue toward pale gray. The stars disappear one by one. The village seems to breathe together. Small cooking fires begin sending thin trails of smoke upward. Women prepare grain that was ground the evening before. A hand stone moves slowly across another stone, crushing wheat into fine flour with a steady rhythm repeated thousands of times across generations. The sound is gentle, almost comforting. Nearby, someone kneads dough inside a clay bowl. Water is added little by little until the mixture becomes smooth beneath practiced hands. Soon the smell of fresh bread will drip through every narrow lane. The farmer walks toward the river. His pace is never hurried. He already knows exactly what the day will ask of him. The canal must be checked. Every season brings small changes. A little more silt settles along the edges. Tiny plants begin growing where they should not. Sometimes part of the bank weakens after the flood waters retreat. Even a small break can allow precious water to escape before reaching the fields. Nothing about the work is dramatic. Almost everything about it is patient. As he reaches the edge of the Nile, the first sunlight touches the eastern sky. The river glows softly beneath pale gold light. Fishermen have already untied their small boats from wooden posts driven into the muddy bank. They push away quietly, their oars dipping into calm water with slow, measured strokes. Mist hangs low across the surface. The air smells fresh here. Damp earth mixes with reeds and river plants. Tiny insects dance above the water. A heron stands perfectly still, waiting for breakfast with endless patience. The canal begins only a short distance away. Its entrance appears simple. Someone unfamiliar with the land might overlook it entirely. It is little more than a carefully shaped opening leading away from the river. Yet generations of workers have measured its depth, strengthened its banks, and guided its direction across the fields beyond. The farmer kneels. He places one hand into the cool water. It moves exactly as it should. Not too quickly. Not too slowly. Water has its own quiet language, and those who spend their lives beside it learn to understand its smallest changes. A slight difference in the current can reveal a hidden blockage farther downstream. A gentle swirl near the bank may show where the earth has begun to soften. Tiny floating bits of straw may gather where water no longer moves freely. He watches without speaking. Around him, more workers arrive. Some carry wooden shovels polished smooth by years of use. Others bring woven baskets for carrying away mud and weeds. A young boy walks beside his grandfather, eager to learn work that cannot easily be explained with words alone. Much of it must simply be seen. The old man points toward the canal bank. He says very little. Instead, he shows where yesterday's footprints have begun to crumble into the damp soil. He presses gently with his sandal until a small section breaks away. The boy nods. He understands. Later today they will pack fresh mud against that place before it grows into something larger. This is how the canal survives. Not through grand rebuilding, but through countless small acts of care. The sun rises higher. Warmth slowly spreads across the fields. The morning breeze becomes lighter. Workers begin clearing small patches of reeds from the canal edges. Wooden tools scrape softly through wet soil. Birds hop nearby, searching for insects uncovered by the work. Nobody speaks loudly. There is no reason to. Conversation comes in quiet pieces, separated by long moments of peaceful labor. Someone asks about a neighbor's harvest. Another wonders whether the flood this year reached quite as high as the last. An older worker remembers seasons from many years ago when the river arrived later than expected. Their voices blend naturally with the sounds of water. Nearby, a woman arrives carrying baskets balanced carefully across her shoulders. Inside are fresh loaves of bread still warm from the morning fire. Beside them rest onions, dates, and small clay jars filled with cool water. Breakfast is simple. It always has been. The workers gather beneath the shade of a sycamore tree standing near the canal. They sit on the ground without ceremony. Bread is broken into uneven pieces. Dates pass from hand to hand. No meal lasts very long, because the cool morning hours are precious. Soon the sun will become heavy. By midday the fields will shimmer beneath intense heat. Sand will cling to sweaty skin. Linen clothing will darken with effort. The smell of warm earth will fill the air. Everyone knows this. No one complains. The rhythm of the seasons has taught them that work belongs to the morning, rest belongs to the hottest hours, and evening brings another gentle return to the fields. Beyond the canal, rows of young grain stretch quietly toward the horizon. Each green shoot depends upon these narrow waterways. Every loaf of bread waiting inside the village begins here, with water patiently guided through earth shaped by human hands. A traveler passing through Egypt might admire towering monuments and painted temples, never noticing this modest canal beside the fields. Yet every stone lifted to build those monuments was carried by workers who first ate bread grown from land nourished by canals just like this one. The canal asks for no praise. It simply continues its quiet work, day after day, season after season, beneath the same broad sky. And as the morning grows brighter, the gentle current continues to flow, carrying the cool waters of the Nile a little farther into the waiting fields, where another peaceful day in ancient Egypt slowly unfolds. The water continues its gentle journey through the narrow canal. It slips around small bends that were shaped long ago by careful hands, then smoothed again and again by each passing season. It never seems hurried. It simply follows the quiet path laid before it, carrying life across the fields one peaceful moment at a time. The workers rise from beneath the shade of the sycamore tree. Their simple meal has left them satisfied but not heavy. They brush loose crumbs from their linen clothing and return to the canal with the familiar rhythm that has guided countless mornings before this one. The sun is climbing now. Its light stretches across the river until every ripple shines softly like polished bronze. The air is still comfortable, though everyone knows the warmth will slowly deepen. There is no surprise in that. Every day follows its own familiar pattern, and the people have long learned to move gently with it rather than against it. The farmer kneels once more beside the canal bank. He picks up a handful of damp earth and lets it slowly fall through his fingers. The soil is dark here, rich with the fine silt carried each year by the Nile's flood. It feels cool despite the growing warmth above. This soft earth has fed families for generations, and each season it quietly renews itself. Nearby, another worker presses fresh mud against a weak place along the canal wall. He uses both hands instead of tools, smoothing the surface until it becomes firm. When he finishes, he steps back without saying anything. The repair is small. By tomorrow it will look as though it had always been there. This is how much of the work is done. One careful handful at a time. A young girl walks along the narrow path carrying a clay jar balanced on her shoulder. The water inside sways gently with each step, but not a single drop escapes. She has practiced this since she was very small, watching her mother and older sisters do the same every day. She smiles quietly as she passes the workers. One of the older men nods in return before continuing to clear reeds from the edge of the canal. There is comfort in familiar faces. The village is not large. Nearly everyone knows one another. They know whose bread rises tallest in the morning ovens. They know whose fishing nets are always neatly repaired. They know which family keeps the calmest donkeys and whose children laugh the loudest while helping gather grain. The canal belongs to all of them. No single family could care for it alone. Farther downstream, two boys stand ankle-deep in the shallow water. Their task is simple. They remove floating branches that have drifted into the narrow channel overnight. Sometimes they pause to watch tiny fish dart between patches of sunlight beneath the surface. The fish move with effortless grace. For a moment the boys forget about work. Then one of the older workers gently reminds them to continue. Not with anger. Only with patience. There will be plenty of time later to watch the river. For now, the canal must remain clear. The morning breeze carries the scent of fresh bread from the village. Somewhere nearby, onions are being roasted over glowing coals. A woman stirs a clay pot with slow circles while another grinds herbs using a smooth stone worn down by many years of use. The smell drifts across the fields. Even those already at work notice it. Hunger comes quietly after hours of labor beneath the rising sun. Not far away, a pair of oxen pull a wooden plow through soft earth that was watered only yesterday. Their steady footsteps leave deep impressions in the dark soil. The farmer guiding them speaks very little. Gentle sounds are enough. The animals understand. They move at the same slow pace they have followed every planting season. Behind the plow, birds gather almost immediately. They search the freshly turned earth for insects uncovered by the blade. Their tiny feet leave delicate patterns across the damp ground before disappearing once more into the growing grain. The fields seem peaceful, yet every corner is quietly busy. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is rushed. Everything has its proper moment. A scribe arrives shortly before the middle of the morning. His linen robe is cleaner than those worn by the farmers. Across one shoulder hangs a small leather satchel. Inside rests a bundle of rolled papyrus along with reeds trimmed into writing pens. He walks carefully, avoiding the softer ground near the canal. His work is different. He does not repair banks or guide water. Instead, he observes. He counts workers. He records which fields have received water. He notes which sections may require attention before the next flood season. When he reaches the canal entrance, he pauses. For several quiet moments he simply watches the current. Even he seems to appreciate the calm beauty of the flowing water before opening one of his scrolls. His pen scratches softly across the papyrus. Tiny symbols appear one after another. Each mark preserves information that may be useful many months from now. The writing itself is beautiful. Not because it is decorated with bright colors or gold. Its beauty lies in its careful order. Each line rests neatly beneath the last. Nothing is hurried. The scribe's hand moves with the same steady rhythm as the river itself. A breeze lifts the edge of the papyrus for just a moment before letting it settle again. The workers continue without paying much attention. Writing belongs to the scribes. Water belongs to everyone. As the morning grows older, the sunlight becomes stronger. Shadows shorten across the fields. The earth begins releasing the warmth stored during the cool night. Sweat forms across tired faces. Linen clothing clings slightly to sun-warmed skin. Nobody seems surprised. This is simply another day beneath the Egyptian sky. One elderly farmer pauses to straighten his back. Years of lifting baskets and shaping canals have left his movements slow but practiced. He rests both hands upon a wooden shovel and gazes toward the distant river. He remembers when he first worked beside this very canal as a child. The banks were lower then. Some of the trees were only young saplings. Several houses in the village had not yet been built. Many of the older faces he once worked beside have long since disappeared, leaving only quiet memories carried like footprints through the years. Yet the canal remains. It has welcomed one generation after another. Children become adults. Adults become elders. The water continues flowing. There is something comforting in that. A woman appears with bundles of freshly woven reeds tied together using strips of flax. These will strengthen sections of the canal where the earth is especially soft. Two workers carefully press the bundles into place before covering them with damp mud. The repair is almost invisible. Only someone who built canals for many seasons would notice where the new work begins. Nearby, dragonflies skim across the water. Their wings catch flashes of sunlight before disappearing again into the reeds. A turtle slowly climbs onto a warm stone near the bank. It stretches its neck toward the sun and remains perfectly still. The workers hardly notice. These quiet companions have always shared the canal. The hours continue slipping gently forward. From somewhere across the fields comes the distant sound of a wooden mallet striking timber inside a carpenter's workshop. Tap. Pause. Tap. Pause. The rhythm blends naturally with birdsong and flowing water. In another part of the village, a potter turns his wheel. His hands rise slowly around damp clay. With gentle pressure, a plain lump becomes a smooth storage jar. He has shaped hundreds like it, perhaps thousands. Each one will carry grain, water, oil, or beer into another season. Nearby, finished pots stand in neat rows drying beneath the warm sun. Their surfaces glow softly with shades of red and brown. Dust settles lightly upon them before the afternoon breeze brushes it away. Life throughout the village moves with the same quiet patience. Nothing demands attention. Everything belongs. By late morning, children who are too young for heavier work gather beneath another patch of shade. An older grandmother tells them stories while twisting flax fibers into strong thread. Her voice is gentle. The children listen with wide but peaceful eyes. Some lean against baskets. Others lie comfortably upon woven mats. One little boy slowly begins to drift into sleep while still listening to her calm words. No one wakes him. The shade is cool. The breeze is soft. The day's warmth wraps around the village like a quiet blanket. Back beside the canal, the farmer watches as the water reaches another field farther away. The earth darkens as moisture spreads across its surface. Tiny plants seem almost grateful. Their leaves stand a little straighter. Their roots drink deeply from the precious water. There is satisfaction in simply watching. No applause. No celebration. Only quiet understanding that today's work has mattered. Tomorrow there will be more repairs. Another section to inspect. Another field waiting patiently. Another sunrise over the Nile. For now, the canal flows exactly as it should, carrying its silent gift beneath the warm Egyptian sky while the village settles naturally into the slow, peaceful rhythm of another ancient day. The morning slowly gives way to the quiet weight of midday. The sun now hangs high above the wide valley of the Nile, pouring its steady warmth across every field, every rooftop, every narrow footpath that winds between the homes of the village. The light is bright, but it is not harsh in this quiet telling. It simply settles over the land as naturally as it has for thousands upon thousands of days. The canal continues to carry its patient stream. The water is cooler than the air above it. Along its edges, damp earth releases a rich scent that rises gently whenever the breeze stirs the reeds. Small ripples spread across the surface whenever a dragonfly touches the water for the briefest moment before lifting away again. The workers have begun to slow their pace. This is not because they have become lazy, nor because the work has become less important. It is simply the way life has always been beneath the Egyptian sun. The hottest hours belong to careful movements rather than hurried ones. A farmer lifts his wooden shovel only as often as he must. He presses another small section of the canal wall into place, smoothing the wet soil with both palms until it feels firm beneath his hands. He studies his work for several quiet moments before standing once more. There is no feeling of needing to finish quickly. The canal has waited through many seasons. It can wait another few careful minutes while the work is done well. A gentle breeze drifts across the fields. It carries the smell of damp mud, crushed reeds, warm grain, and fresh bread cooling inside nearby homes. Somewhere farther away, someone is roasting onions over a small charcoal fire. Their sweet aroma mingles softly with the scent of barley drying beneath the sun. These familiar smells have greeted every generation. Children grow into adults surrounded by them. Elders remember them from their own childhood. Even visitors passing through the village come to recognize these quiet signs of an ordinary day. Not far from the canal, a donkey stands beneath the shade of a date palm. Its ears flick lazily as flies wander too close. Heavy baskets rest across its back, filled with bundles of cut reeds gathered earlier that morning. For now, both the animal and its owner are content to rest. Neither seems eager to hurry. The afternoon is still a long way off. Near the edge of the village, a baker carefully removes round loaves from a clay oven using a long wooden paddle. The heat escaping from the opening rises in shimmering waves before disappearing into the dry air. Each loaf is simple. Made from grain grown in fields watered by canals like this one. Its crust is slightly darker than the soft bread inside. The smell drifts into the narrow lanes between the homes, inviting quiet smiles from anyone passing nearby. A little girl waits patiently beside the oven with a woven basket in her hands. She is trusted with this small task now. Her mother has wrapped the basket with linen cloth so the bread will stay warm on the walk home. When the baker places the fresh loaves inside, she thanks him with a gentle nod before beginning the short journey back through the village. She walks carefully. The basket is precious. Not because it contains treasure, but because it carries the evening meal. As she passes one doorway after another, she hears the ordinary sounds of daily life. A woman grinding grain with steady circles of a stone. A baby sleeping peacefully inside the coolest corner of the house. An elderly man repairing a fishing net that has served him through many seasons. The soft splash of water being poured into clay jars. The quiet conversation of neighbors who have known one another for longer than anyone can remember. Every sound belongs. Nothing feels out of place. Back beside the canal, two fishermen have tied their small wooden boat beneath an overhanging tree. The morning's catch rests inside woven baskets covered with damp reeds to keep the fish cool. They sit together beneath the shade. One quietly repairs a small tear in the fishing net while the other drinks from a clay cup filled with cool river water. Their hands move without haste. The net has many tiny knots. Each one must be tied carefully. A single weak knot could mean losing tomorrow's catch. So they work slowly. Patiently. The same way their fathers once did. The same way their sons may someday learn. Farther downstream, where the canal widens before dividing toward several fields, a pair of young boys watches the water flow through a small wooden gate. Their father has shown them how to lift it only a little. Too much water would rush forward too quickly. Too little would leave the soil thirsty. They watch closely. The movement is almost too gentle to notice. The water slips beneath the gate with a soft whisper. The boys smile. They feel proud to have been trusted with such an important task, even if only for a short while. Their father says very little. He simply rests one weathered hand on each of their shoulders before quietly adjusting the gate himself. Learning comes through watching. Through repeating. Through many calm mornings beside the canal. Clouds are rare today. The sky stretches wide above the valley in endless shades of pale blue. Birds circle high overhead. Far below, white egrets wander slowly through the damp edges of the fields, searching for insects stirred by the workers' footsteps. Their movements seem almost graceful enough to match the quiet rhythm of the water itself. The village priest walks along one of the dusty paths. His linen garments are freshly washed. He greets each family with calm kindness. There is no great ceremony today. Only ordinary blessings offered with quiet words and peaceful smiles. Life itself feels sacred enough. The river. The harvest. The bread. The shade beneath the tree. The cool drink of water after hours beneath the sun. These simple gifts are noticed every day. As the heat reaches its highest point, more workers begin returning toward their homes for the midday rest. Doors remain open to welcome the passing breeze. Inside the mud brick houses, the thick walls keep the rooms pleasantly cool compared with the bright world outside. Families spread woven mats across the floor. Clay jars filled with river water stand in shaded corners. Children lie beside grandparents. Some fall asleep almost immediately. Others listen quietly while stories drip through the peaceful rooms. Outside, the village grows remarkably still. Even the animals seem to understand. Goats settle beneath low walls. Dogs curl into patches of shade. The donkeys lower their heads and rest one hind leg. The loudest sound now is the steady murmur of flowing water. The canal never sleeps. Even while the people rest, it continues its gentle work. It slips through every careful bend. It fills every shallow channel. It moistens fields that will later feed families throughout another season. No one needs to watch every moment. The canal remembers its path. The afternoon will eventually arrive. The workers will return. Fresh repairs will be made where they are needed. More reeds will be trimmed. More water will be guided into waiting fields. For now, however, ancient Egypt rests beneath the warm embrace of the midday sun, while the quiet canal carries the endless gift of the Nile through the peaceful heart of the land. The hottest hours of the day pass almost unnoticed. The sun remains high above the valley, but little by little its fierce warmth begins to soften. Long shadows have not yet returned, though they quietly wait beyond the afternoon. The air still shimmers above the fields, and the stones along the village paths hold the heat they gathered since morning. Inside the mud brick homes, the peaceful stillness continues. The thick walls shelter families from the brightest light. A faint breeze slips through open doorways, carrying the cool scent of damp river water mixed with the gentle smell of baked clay. It moves across woven reed mats and touches clay jars resting against the walls. One by one, the villagers begin to wake from their midday rest. There is no hurry. A mother opens her eyes and listens for a moment before rising. Somewhere nearby, a pigeon coos from the flat roof of a neighboring house. A child stretches quietly before rubbing sleep from tired eyes. An old man sits patiently, waiting for his knees to loosen after the short nap that has become part of every summer afternoon. Outside, the village slowly finds its rhythm once more. A wooden door opens with a familiar creak. Sandals brush softly against the dusty ground. Someone laughs gently from across the lane before returning to the simple work waiting nearby. Nothing feels rushed. It is as though the village itself wakes slowly, just as the river moves slowly, never asking anyone to hurry. The farmer returns to the canal carrying a small basket filled with fresh clay gathered from the riverbank. The clay is cool and smooth beneath his fingers. He sets the basket beside the water and studies the bank that was repaired earlier in the day. The damp earth has settled well. The water presses gently against it without escaping. He smiles to himself. It is a quiet satisfaction, one that needs no words. Nearby, another farmer walks the length of the canal with a long wooden staff. Every few steps he pauses and presses the end into the ground. He is listening as much as he is looking. Firm earth answers with a solid feeling beneath the staff. Soft earth yields a little. Where the ground feels weaker, he makes a small mark with the tip of his sandal. Those places will be strengthened before sunset. These careful inspections have become second nature. No written instructions are needed. The land itself teaches those who spend their lives upon it. The water tells its own story. It reveals where the current has become slower. It shows where tiny leaves gather against a hidden obstacle. It whispers where the banks need another patient layer of mud. A pair of brothers arrives carrying woven baskets filled with reeds cut earlier that morning. The reeds are long, straight, and still green. Together they kneel beside the weakest stretch of the canal. One places the reeds carefully. The other covers them with damp soil. Neither speaks very much. The work itself is familiar enough to guide their hands. Their father watches from nearby. He remembers learning the same task from his own father many years ago. The movements have changed very little. Hands place the reeds. Hands smooth the mud. Hands pat the earth until it feels strong. Generations pass. The work remains. The afternoon breeze grows steadier. It ripples across the surface of the canal, breaking the reflections of the blue sky into countless shimmering pieces. Tiny fish dart beneath the shadows cast by reeds growing along the edge. A kingfisher flashes brilliant blue for only a heartbeat before disappearing farther downstream. The workers notice it only briefly. Birds have always shared the river. Their beauty is part of the ordinary world. Across the fields, the grain sways gently. The movement is so slow that it almost resembles the surface of the Nile itself. Each stalk bends with the breeze before standing upright once again. The quiet rustling fills the air like a soft whisper. It is the sound of another healthy season. A woman walks toward the fields carrying a large clay pitcher balanced gracefully upon her head. A folded cloth rests beneath the pitcher to make the weight more comfortable. Her steps are careful but confident. She has walked this same path hundreds of times. Perhaps thousands. The pitcher holds cool drinking water drawn from a shaded storage jar. The workers welcome her with grateful smiles. Each drinks slowly. The water is refreshing after the warmth of the afternoon. No drop is wasted. When everyone has finished, the remaining water is poured into smaller cups for children helping nearby. Even the youngest understand its value. Not far away, a scribe sits beneath the spreading branches of a sycamore fig tree. The shade is deep and pleasant. A gentle breeze lifts the edge of the papyrus resting across his knees. He pauses before writing. Instead of looking at the scroll, he watches the workers. He sees the careful repairs. He notices which fields have received enough water. He studies the steady pace of ordinary life. When he finally begins to write again, his reed pen glides smoothly across the papyrus. His records will speak of measurements and harvests. But the quiet determination of the people before him can never be fully captured by ink. It lives in their daily routine. A potter passes with a small cart pulled by a patient donkey. Freshly fired jars are wrapped in straw to protect them from breaking along the uneven road. The jars will soon hold grain from the coming harvest. Others will store olive oil or dried beans. Some will keep cool water for families during the hottest weeks of summer. Simple vessels. Simple lives. Yet each object carries its own quiet importance. The afternoon light begins to soften. The bright white glare fades into warmer shades of gold. Palm trees cast longer shadows across the dusty paths. The roofs of the mud brick homes glow gently beneath the lowering sun. Children who spent the hottest hours indoors now gather near the edge of the canal. They float little bundles of reeds upon the slow-moving water and watch them drift around the bends. They laugh softly whenever two bundles meet before separating again. Their parents allow the game to continue for a little while. The canal has become part of their childhood, just as it was for countless children before them. Someday these same boys and girls will stand beside its banks as adults. They will repair the walls. They will guide the water. They will teach another generation to listen to the quiet language of the river. For now, however, They simply watch the tiny reed boats drift peacefully toward the fields while the warm afternoon slowly begins its gentle journey toward evening, and the hidden canal continues its silent work beneath the calm Egyptian sky. Evening begins so quietly that almost no one notices the exact moment it arrives. The bright afternoon light softens little by little until every corner of the valley seems wrapped in warm gold. The shadows of the date palms grow longer across the fields. The mud brick homes no longer shine beneath the powerful sun but instead glow gently, their rough walls reflecting the peaceful light of the descending day. The hidden canal continues to flow. It has carried water since before sunrise. It has asked for nothing in return. Its surface is smoother now. The afternoon breeze has become lighter, and the small ripples fade into long, quiet reflections of reeds and palm branches leaning over the banks. A farmer walks slowly beside the water. His work for the day is nearly finished. The wooden shovel resting across his shoulder feels heavier than it did in the cool morning, not because it has changed, but because many hours of steady labor have gently settled into his arms and back. He does not mind the tiredness. It is familiar. His muscles know this feeling as well as they know the path beside the canal. Every season has left its quiet mark upon him. The skin of his hands is rough from years of shaping wet earth. Small lines spread across his face from long days beneath the Egyptian sun. His sandals are worn smooth where countless miles have carried him between the village, the river, and the fields. These things are simply part of life. They are neither celebrated nor regretted. They are accepted with the same calm patience as the changing seasons. He pauses beside one of the small wooden gates that directs water toward a nearby field. The gate is little more than thick planks fitted together by careful hands. It is plain to look at, darkened by many years of flowing water and warm sunlight. He places both hands upon it. Very slowly, he lowers it. The stream entering the field becomes smaller. The soil has received enough water for today. Tomorrow morning, another field will have its turn. Nothing is hurried. Nothing is wasted. The canal teaches balance as much as it teaches patience. Nearby, two young brothers carry empty baskets back toward the village. Earlier those baskets held fresh clay. Now they swing lightly beside their legs. Their conversation is quiet. They speak about a small turtle they saw resting near the reeds. One wonders where it goes after sunset. The other thinks it probably sleeps somewhere hidden among the river plants. Neither truly knows. Their father smiles as he listens. Some questions do not need answers. It is enough that the children continue to notice the small lives around them. A flock of white birds rises suddenly from a distant marsh. Their wings beat together with a soft rushing sound before they drift toward another stretch of water farther down the valley. Soon they become tiny white shapes against the pale blue sky. The workers watch them only for a moment. Then their attention returns to the canal. A cracked section of the bank still needs one final layer of damp soil before night. An elderly man kneels carefully despite stiff knees. His movements are slower than they once were. Years ago he could finish this repair before another worker had filled a single basket with mud. Now he takes his time. Each handful is pressed gently into place. Each smooth stroke of his palm leaves the surface stronger than before. No one urges him to work faster. The younger workers simply continue beside him. They understand that careful work is more valuable than quick work. As the repair is completed, the old man sits quietly on the bank. He washes the mud from his hands in the cool canal water. The water carries tiny clouds of brown earth downstream until they disappear. For a few moments he simply watches the current. He has watched this same water since he was a small boy. Back then, he would race along these banks with friends, chasing dragonflies, and skipping smooth stones across the quiet surface. Now many of those friends are gone. Some rest beneath the desert sands beyond the village. Others have moved to different settlements farther along the Nile. Yet the canal remains. Its steady flow has quietly connected every season of his life. Behind him, the fields whisper softly. The grain moves together whenever the breeze passes across it. The sound is gentle, almost like distant rain. It rises and fades without hurry. Across the fields, women gather bundles of herbs before the light grows too dim. Fresh mint, fragrant coriander, tender leaves that will flavor tomorrow's meals. Each bundle is tied neatly with strips of flax. The pleasant scent follows them as they walk home. Children run ahead, though even their games seem calmer now. The long day has softened their endless energy. Their laughter drifts through the warm evening air before slowly fading into quiet conversation. At the edge of the village, smoke begins rising from cooking fires. Thin gray ribbons climb peacefully into the sky. The smell of baking bread returns once again. Nearby, lentils simmer gently inside clay pots. Someone slices fresh onions. Someone else crushes garlic with a smooth stone until its sharp fragrance fills the air. Fish caught that morning are cleaned beside shaded doorways before being placed over glowing coals. The evening meal is simple. But after a day of honest work, it feels complete. The donkeys return from the fields carrying little more than empty baskets and worn ropes. They know the path without guidance. Their slow footsteps leave familiar prints in the soft dust. Goats gather inside low stone pens. Chickens scratch the ground one last time before finding their places to rest. Even the village dogs seem quieter. The whole settlement settles gently into evening together. A scribe rolls his papyrus carefully. The day's records are complete. Numbers have been written. Harvest estimates have been noted. Small repairs to the canal have been marked. Tomorrow there will be more observations. But not tonight. He places the scroll inside its leather case and begins the peaceful walk home. As he passes the canal, he pauses. The fading sunlight turns the water into a ribbon of deep amber. For a long moment, he simply watches. There is beauty here that cannot be measured with ink or recorded in neat columns. It exists only in the quiet meeting of light and water. A cool breeze arrives from the river. It is gentle enough to lift loose strands of linen clothing. After the long warmth of the day, it feels refreshing. The workers welcome it without speaking. Some close their eyes for a brief moment. Others lift their faces toward it. The air carries the scent of the Nile itself, fresh water, damp reeds, fertile earth, and the faint sweetness of flowering plants growing along the banks. As the sun sinks lower, its light touches the tops of the palms one final time before slipping beyond the western desert. The first evening stars wait patiently beyond the bright sky, still hidden but slowly preparing to appear. The canal continues its quiet work. It asks for no recognition. It simply carries another gentle stream of Nile water through the fertile earth, just as it did yesterday, just as it will tomorrow, while the peaceful village slowly welcomes the calm embrace of another ancient Egyptian night. The first stars appear quietly above the valley. They do not arrive all at once. One small point of light becomes visible in the deepening blue sky. Then another. And another. Soon the heavens are sprinkled with countless gentle lights that seem to watch over the river as they have for longer than anyone in the village could remember. The hidden canal reflects them all. Its surface has become almost perfectly still. The day's work has ended, and only a slow current continues its peaceful journey from the Nile through the fields. Tiny ripples spread outward whenever a fish rises beneath the moonlit water before disappearing again into the quiet darkness. The air feels different now. The heavy warmth of the afternoon has slowly drifted away. In its place comes a soft evening breeze that carries the scent of damp earth, fresh reeds, and cooling stone. It slips through the narrow lanes of the village and across the flat rooftops where families gather after the long day. Many choose to sit outside before sleep. The rooms within their homes have become cooler, but the evening sky is welcoming. Woven mats are spread across the roofs. Clay lamps burn with small, steady flames, their light dancing gently whenever the breeze passes by. A grandmother sits with her grandchildren beneath the stars. She speaks in a calm voice that rises only slightly above the whisper of the wind. Her stories are old, handed down through many generations. They tell of the river's kindness, of patient farmers, of faithful seasons that return one after another. The children listen quietly. One rests his head against her shoulder. Another traces small circles in the dust with a finger while listening to every word. No one feels the need to interrupt the peaceful silence between her sentences. The pauses are part of the story, too. Across the village, a potter finishes arranging the last of his jars inside a simple shelter. Tomorrow they will be carried to nearby settlements along the river. Tonight they stand in neat rows beneath the moonlight, each one shaped by careful hands and many years of practice. Their smooth surfaces hold the warmth of the day. Slowly, they begin to cool. The potter runs one hand lightly across the nearest jar. He smiles with quiet satisfaction before covering the doorway with a woven reed mat. His work can rest until morning. Nearby, the baker brushes the last ashes from the clay oven. Only a faint glow remains beneath the coals. The smell of fresh bread still lingers in the air, though most of the loaves have already found their way to family tables. A few remain wrapped in linen cloth, ready for tomorrow's first meal before sunrise. Nothing is wasted. Even the smallest crust will be shared. Along the edge of the canal, a young man walks with a small clay lamp held low before him. He is making one final inspection. The light is soft, just enough to show the narrow path beneath his sandals. He pauses wherever the water bends. He listens. The canal has many voices. There is the gentle murmur where water slips between reeds. There is the quiet trickle where it passes beneath a wooden gate. There is the almost silent sound of the current brushing against smooth banks of packed earth. Tonight, every sound tells him the same thing. Everything is well. The repairs made during the day are holding. The water continues exactly where it should. He kneels beside the bank and places his fingertips into the cool stream. The contrast surprises him, even after so many years. The air is warm. The earth is warm. But the water carries the memory of the great river itself. He lets it flow gently around his hand before standing once more. Far out in the fields, frogs begin their evening songs. Their voices rise together in a slow and steady rhythm. Crickets answer from the dry grasses. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls softly before falling silent again. The night belongs to these quiet sounds. Inside one small home, a mother folds freshly washed linen and places it carefully into a woven basket. Her husband mends the strap of a work sandal using strips of leather. Their youngest child has already fallen asleep on a reed mat, one hand still resting upon a small wooden toy carved by his grandfather many months before. The older children speak in hushed voices. Soon they, too, grow sleepy. The day's work, the evening meal, and the cool night air have gently worn away the last of their energy. One by one, the clay lamps are covered. Darkness settles peacefully inside the room. Only moonlight entering through the doorway remains. Outside, the canal continues its quiet journey. It does not rest. It never asks for praise. It simply carries water toward waiting fields beneath the silver light of the moon. If someone were to stand upon its bank until dawn, they would see little change. The stars would slowly cross the sky. The moon would drift lower toward the western horizon. The breeze would come and go. The water would continue to flow with the same patient rhythm. This gentle constancy comforts the people of the village. They trust the river. They trust the seasons. They trust that morning will arrive with another opportunity to care for the land that has cared for them in return. As the night grows deeper, even the animals become still. The donkeys sleep standing close together. The goats rest quietly within their stone enclosure. Birds tuck their heads beneath their wings high among the palm branches. The entire village seems to breathe with one calm, steady rhythm. Above it all, the stars remain bright. Below them, the hidden canal glimmers softly, winding through the fertile earth like a quiet ribbon of life, carrying the cool waters of the Nile through the peaceful darkness until another gentle dawn slowly begins to find its way across ancient Egypt. Long before the first light reaches the eastern horizon, the village rests in complete stillness. The moon hangs low above the Nile now, its pale reflection stretching across the quiet water like a ribbon of silver. The hidden canal carries that same gentle light through the fields, where rows of barley and emmer wheat stand motionless beneath the cool night sky. The desert beyond the fertile valley is silent. Its broad hills wait patiently in darkness, holding the warmth they gathered during the day. Here and there, smooth stones slowly release that heat into the cool air. A faint breeze drifts down from the open land, crossing the river before slipping softly through the reeds that line the canal. Nothing seems to hurry. Even time itself feels slower during these peaceful hours. Inside the village, the clay lamps have long since burned out. Only a few faint embers remain beneath cooking ovens. Their gentle glow is hidden beneath layers of warm ash, waiting until morning when another day's bread will begin to bake. A cat wanders quietly through one narrow lane. Its paws make almost no sound against the packed earth. It pauses beneath a low wooden table outside one home, listening carefully. A small mouse rustles somewhere among a stack of woven baskets. The cat waits with remarkable patience. The village has watched this quiet dance every night for generations. Nearby, bundles of harvested flax lean against a wall. Their pale fibers catch the moonlight, appearing almost silver in the darkness. Tomorrow they will be combed, twisted into thread, and eventually woven into linen strong enough to last for many years. For now, they simply rest. Everything has its proper time. Beyond the homes, the hidden canal follows its familiar path. Its banks appear softer beneath the moon. The reeds stand like quiet guardians beside the water, swaying gently whenever the breeze passes through their tall green leaves. A frog slips silently into the canal. Small circles spread across the surface. The ripples widen until they disappear into the darkness. Soon the water becomes smooth once more. Farther along the canal, an elderly watchman walks slowly with a wooden staff in one hand and a small clay lantern in the other. His task is simple. He watches. Most nights nothing unusual happens. That is exactly how he prefers it. He has spent many years walking these same paths beneath the stars. He knows every bend of the canal. He knows where the bank rises slightly above the fields. He knows which palm trees lean toward the water and which ones stand perfectly straight despite years of wind. Sometimes he stops for several quiet moments. He listens to the flowing water. He has learned that silence can reveal much. If the current sounds different, perhaps a fallen branch has drifted into the channel. If water rushes more quickly than usual, perhaps a wooden gate has shifted. Tonight everything sounds exactly as it should. The canal whispers gently through the darkness. The old man smiles to himself. He lowers his lantern for a moment and looks upward. The stars are especially clear. Without clouds, the sky seems endless. Many of those bright lights have watched over Egypt since long before the first villages stood beside the Nile. Generations have looked upward after long days of work. Builders, farmers, boatmen, potters, scribes, children, grandparents. Each found comfort beneath the same quiet sky. The watchman continues walking. His sandals leave faint footprints in the soft earth beside the canal. Tomorrow morning those footprints may still be visible until the first workers arrive. Or perhaps a light breeze will smooth them away before dawn. Either way, the path will remain. Near the riverbank, several fishing boats are tied securely to wooden posts. Their ropes creak softly whenever the current shifts. Inside one boat rests a neatly folded fishing net. The fisherman repaired every small tear before returning home. He knows that careful work at night makes tomorrow's labor easier. The net smells faintly of river water and reeds. Tiny drops still cling to the fibers. Under the moonlight they sparkle like scattered pearls before slowly drying in the cool air. The boats rock almost too gently to notice. They seem to breathe with the river itself. Across the fields, the grain has grown tall enough that the breeze moves through it with a gentle rustling sound. The whisper rises and falls in slow waves. Listening from a distance, one might almost mistake it for water flowing across smooth stones. Nature often speaks in quiet voices. One simply has to remain still long enough to hear them. Within one modest home, a young boy stirs in his sleep. For a brief moment he opens his eyes. Moonlight enters through the doorway, drawing pale shapes across the floor. He hears nothing but the faint singing of crickets and the soft breathing of his family. Comforted, he closes his eyes again. Sleep returns almost immediately. His father lies nearby. The man's hands still bear traces of dried mud beneath his fingernails despite washing them carefully after work. Years of repairing canal banks have left the skin rough and strong. Yet now those hard-working hands rest peacefully. Tomorrow they will shape earth once more. Tonight they are still. In another house, a young woman quietly wakes before everyone else. Not because morning has arrived. She simply wishes to prepare a few things before dawn. She steps outside carrying an empty clay jar. The night air feels cool upon her face. She smiles softly. The village looks different beneath the moon. The familiar lanes seem wider. The shadows beneath the palm trees stretch farther. Every home appears peaceful. She walks toward a nearby storage vessel where cool water has been kept beneath a woven cover. Slowly she fills the jar. The water makes a gentle sound as it settles inside the smooth clay. She lifts it carefully and begins walking home. Her sandals leave delicate prints in the dust. The village remains asleep around her. Only the quiet canal continues its endless journey beside the fields. Its current has slowed slightly during the cool night, yet it never stops. It slips beneath small wooden gates. It curves gently around patches of reeds. It carries tiny fragments of leaves that drift lazily upon its surface. Above the eastern horizon, something almost too subtle to notice begins to change. The darkness loses only the smallest measure of its depth. Black becomes deep blue. The stars nearest the horizon begin to fade. Morning is still some time away. Yet the earth already seems aware that another day is approaching. Birds tucked among the palm fronds shift quietly in their sleep. A cool breeze carries the scent of wet soil from the canal across the waiting fields. The village continues to rest, gathering strength for another day of steady work. The hidden canal, faithful as ever, flows onward through the peaceful darkness, preparing the land for the gentle footsteps that will soon return with the first light of dawn. The eastern sky slowly begins to brighten. At first, the change is almost impossible to notice. The deep blue of the night becomes just a little softer along the distant horizon. One by one, the brightest stars gently fade, as though they are quietly stepping aside to make room for another peaceful morning beside the Nile. The hidden canal reflects the changing sky. Its dark surface gradually fills with pale shades of blue and silver. The gentle current carries the first light around every familiar bend, past every patch of reeds, and beside every field that has rested through the cool hours of the night. The village remains still for a little while longer. The silence is comforting. It is the kind of silence that belongs only to the moments before dawn, when the world seems to pause between yesterday and today. A faint breeze moves across the river. It carries the fresh scent of damp earth mixed with the sweetness of flowering plants growing near the water's edge. Tiny beads of dew cling to the reeds that line the canal. They catch the growing light and sparkle for only a few moments before quietly disappearing into the warmth of the morning. The first bird sings. Its gentle call floats across the valley. Another answers from a distant palm tree. Soon the air is filled with soft voices greeting the new day. Inside one small home, an elderly woman opens her eyes. She has awakened before sunrise for as long as she can remember. She sits quietly for a moment, listening. The village has not yet fully stirred, but she can already hear the distant murmur of the canal. It is a familiar sound, one that has greeted nearly every morning of her life. She smiles. The water is flowing. That is enough to begin the day with peace. Slowly she rises from her woven mat. The packed earth floor feels cool beneath her feet. She folds her linen blanket with careful hands before stepping outside into the gentle morning air. The sky above is becoming lighter with every passing moment. She fills a small clay bowl with water from a storage jar and washes the sleep from her face. The cool water is refreshing. Nearby, another household begins to wake. A wooden door opens softly. Someone coughs gently. A child yawns. These small sounds drift through the quiet village like ripples spreading across calm water. Soon, thin trails of smoke begin rising from cooking fires. The smell of dry acacia wood fills the cool morning air. One woman kneels beside a grinding stone. She pours a handful of grain into the shallow hollow before placing the smooth upper stone on top. With slow, practiced movements, she begins turning it. The gentle scraping sound becomes part of the morning's rhythm. Grain slowly becomes flour. Flour will become dough. Dough will become bread. The routine changes very little from one day to the next. That steady rhythm brings comfort. Across the narrow lane, a young father carefully checks the leather straps of a wooden yoke that will rest across the shoulders of his oxen. He runs his fingers along each strap. The leather is worn but still strong. He tightens one knot. Then another. Satisfied, he hangs the yoke beside the doorway, ready for the day's work. His youngest daughter watches with quiet curiosity. She asks a few gentle questions. He answers patiently. One day she will remember these mornings. The smell of fresh bread. The cool air before sunrise. The quiet voices of neighbors greeting one another. The sound of the canal flowing beyond the fields. These memories will stay with her long after childhood has passed. The first rays of sunlight touch the tops of the date palms. Golden light slowly spreads downward through the branches. The leaves glow softly before casting long shadows across the dusty paths below. The hidden canal now shines like polished glass. Tiny insects hover above the water. A dragonfly lands briefly on a reed before lifting into the air once more. Near the riverbank, fishermen arrive carrying neatly folded nets across their shoulders. They untie their small wooden boats with slow, familiar movements. The ropes, stiff from drying overnight, loosen easily beneath experienced hands. One fisherman gently pushes his boat away from the shore. The hull glides almost silently across the calm surface of the Nile. His oar slips into the water with a quiet splash. Then another. Soon he becomes a small figure drifting through the morning mist. The river welcomes him as it always has. Beside the canal, yesterday's footprints remain faintly pressed into the damp earth. Some belong to farmers. Others to children. A few were left by the elderly watchmen who walked beneath the stars while the village slept. Fresh footsteps soon begin to overlap the old ones. A farmer arrives carrying his wooden shovel. He pauses beside the canal. Without speaking, he watches the water for several moments. Morning light reveals everything clearly. The repairs made yesterday remain firm. The current moves steadily. The small wooden gate rests exactly where it should. He nods quietly. Another good day is beginning. Soon more workers arrive. Some carry baskets. Others bring wooden rakes. A young boy carries little more than a coil of rope, but he walks proudly beside his father, eager to help however he can. The men greet one another with warm smiles and quiet voices. There is no need for long conversations. Most have worked together for many years. Each understands what the day will require. The work begins almost naturally. One man clears away a few reeds that have grown too close to the water. Another smooths a small patch of earth where yesterday's footprints have softened the bank. Two brothers inspect a narrow crossing made from wooden planks. They test each board carefully before tightening the cords that hold them together. Nothing is overlooked. Every small task matters. Nearby, a flock of white ibises lands among the wet fields. They walk slowly through the shallow water, searching for insects stirred by the morning activity. Their reflections ripple gently beneath them. The farmers barely glance in their direction. These graceful birds have shared the valley for longer than anyone can remember. Their quiet presence feels as natural as the sunrise itself. A little farther downstream, the canal divides into several smaller channels. Each one carries water toward different plots of farmland. A gray-haired farmer kneels beside the first channel and gently removes a small mound of silt with his hands. The water immediately begins to flow more freely. He smiles to himself. Such a small change. Yet it may help an entire field receive the water it needs before midday. These quiet moments of care happen every day. Most leave no mark that future generations will ever see. No monument is raised to remember them. No inscription records the name of the person who shaped a bank or cleared a channel. Yet these simple acts sustain the village. Every loaf of bread. Every basket of grain. Every child who grows strong enough to work beside the canal one day. All are connected to these patient hands. The sun climbs a little higher into the clear Egyptian sky. Warmth slowly returns to the valley. The workers continue at their calm, steady pace, accompanied by the gentle murmur of flowing water, the songs of morning birds, and the comforting rhythm of another ordinary day beginning beside the hidden canal of ancient Egypt. The morning settles gently over the valley. The first rush of waking has passed, and the village now moves with its familiar rhythm. Every person seems to know where to go without needing to think about it. Sandals leave fresh prints in the soft dust. Wooden doors stand open to welcome the cool air before the day's warmth grows stronger. The smell of baking bread drifts from one home to another, carried by a breeze that has traveled across the Nile. The hidden canal flows as quietly as ever. Its water catches the golden light of the rising sun, sending small reflections dancing beneath the reeds. Tiny insects hover just above the surface. Every now and then, a fish breaks the water with the smallest splash before disappearing once more into the gentle current. A farmer pauses at the edge of the canal. He is not alone. His oldest son stands beside him, carrying a wooden rake that is almost as tall as he is. The boy has reached an age where his father trusts him with more than simple errands. Today he will learn another small part of caring for the canal. The father kneels beside the water. He points toward a narrow bend where the current has become slightly slower. "There," he says softly. The boy looks carefully. At first he sees nothing unusual. The water appears smooth. The banks seem firm. Everything looks exactly as it did yesterday. His father smiles. He reaches into the canal with both hands and gently lifts away a small bundle of reeds that has become caught beneath the surface. Almost immediately, the current begins to move more freely. The difference is small. So small that someone unfamiliar with the canal might never notice it. But the father notices. Years beside the water have taught him to see changes that others overlook. The boy watches with quiet fascination. He understands that the canal is always speaking. Not with words. With movement. With sound. With the gentle way water chooses its path. The lesson lasts only a few moments. There is no need for a long explanation. Tomorrow, perhaps, the father will show him something else. Learning comes slowly here. Like the river itself. Nearby, two women walk toward the fields carrying woven baskets filled with young vegetable plants. Their steps are steady. The baskets rest comfortably against their hips, lined with damp cloth to keep the roots cool until planting. The plants are small. Tender green leaves stretch toward the morning light. Soon they will grow beside the larger fields, close enough to the canal to receive regular water. One woman stops beside a narrow channel. She kneels and presses her fingers into the soil. It is cool beneath the surface. Exactly as she hoped. She nods with quiet satisfaction before beginning to plant. Each small seedling is placed carefully into the earth. A little space. A little water. A gentle press of the soil around the roots. One after another. There is no hurry. Plants grow at their own pace. People have learned to respect that. Not far away, a potter walks slowly along the dusty road leading toward a neighboring village. A patient donkey follows behind him, carrying several newly fired jars wrapped in bundles of straw. The jars sway gently with each step but never strike against one another. The potter arranged them carefully before leaving home. He has made this journey many times. The road is familiar. It follows the river for a while before turning inland through fields nourished by canals much like the one beside the village. As he walks, he greets everyone he passes. A fisherman returning with an empty basket. A shepherd guiding a small flock of goats. An elderly woman carrying fresh herbs gathered at sunrise. Each greeting is quiet. Simple. Kind. The morning is too peaceful for hurried conversation. Back beside the canal, several workers have gathered beneath the shade of a broad sycamore tree. Their tools rest nearby. One sharpens the edge of a wooden hoe using a smooth stone. Another repairs the handle of a basket whose woven reeds have begun to loosen. A third quietly braids fresh rope from flax fibers. Their hands remain busy even while they rest. Work changes. It never truly disappears. The tree offers welcome shade. Its wide branches spread across the bank, creating cool patches where the earth remains damp long after sunrise. Children often play here during the cooler parts of the day. Today, however, it belongs to the workers. A gentle breeze stirs the leaves overhead. Sunlight filters through them in shifting patterns that move slowly across the ground. One elderly farmer closes his eyes for a few moments. Not to sleep. Simply to enjoy the cool air. He listens. The rustling leaves. The distant splash of an oar upon the Nile. The quiet scraping of a basket being repaired. The steady murmur of flowing water. These sounds have become the music of his life. He cannot remember a time without them. Across the fields, a pair of oxen pull another wooden plow. The earth is dark and soft where yesterday's water reached. The animals move with calm determination. Each slow step turns another strip of fertile soil. Behind them, the farmer guides the plow with practiced hands. His shoulders are broad from many seasons of work. His movements are steady. There is strength in them. Not hurried strength. Patient strength. Strength built little by little over many years. Nearby, white ibises wander through the freshly turned earth. They search quietly for insects uncovered by the plow. Sometimes they pause completely still. Then, with one quick movement, they find another meal. The farmer smiles whenever he notices them. Their company has become part of every planting season. Farther along the canal, a young girl fills a small clay pitcher. She waits patiently while the water settles. She knows not to disturb the muddy bottom. Her grandmother taught her that. Let the water become still, she had once said. It will tell you when it is ready. Now the girl watches the tiny ripples fade. Only then does she lift the pitcher. The water inside is clear and cool. She balances it carefully against her shoulder and begins the walk home. Her footsteps are light. The pitcher hardly sways. Along the path, she passes fields alive with quiet work. Someone is tying bundles of flax. Someone else gathers onions into woven baskets. A pair of brothers lift stones from the edge of a small irrigation channel so the water may pass more easily. Everywhere she looks, people are caring for the land. Not with grand gestures. With thousands of small ones. Each task is quiet now. Together they create abundance. Cool after another long day. The canal receives every effort without complaint. It carries water where it is needed. It accepts fallen leaves. It cools tired hands. It reflects the changing sky. It asks for nothing except a little care in return. As the sun climbs higher, warmth slowly spreads across the valley once again. The shadows shorten. Birdsong becomes gentler. The breeze grows lighter. Yet the hidden canal continues its quiet journey through the fertile land, flowing past fields, homes, workshops, and gardens, weaving together the ordinary lives of countless people who depend upon its steady and faithful path, just as their parents did before them, and just as their children will one day do after another peaceful dawn beside the timeless waters of the Nile. The day continues its slow movement across the Egyptian valley. The sun has climbed higher now, and the golden softness of early morning has slowly changed into the bright warmth that covers the fields. The canal remains cool and clear beneath the light, moving quietly between the banks that generations of workers have shaped with their hands. The farmers continue their careful routines. Some days bring large tasks. Other days bring only small repairs. But every day asks for attention. A canal is never truly finished. The river changes. The earth changes. The seasons change. And so the people return again and again, making small adjustments that allow the water to continue its peaceful journey. One farmer walks along the edge of the canal carrying a wooden measuring stick. It is simple. Smooth from years of use. Small marks have been carved into its surface by careful hands. He places it into the water and watches quietly. The height of the water tells him what he needs to know. Not through numbers alone. Through experience. Through memory. Through years spent beside the river. He remembers seasons when the Nile rose higher. He remembers years when the waters arrived more slowly. The night is quiet. He remembers the faces of people who taught him these same lessons beneath the same Egyptian sky. The knowledge has traveled from one generation to another like the water itself. Quietly. Steadily. Without needing to announce its importance. Nearby, a group of workers clears a larger section where the canal widens. The morning has warmed their shoulders. Their linen clothing is marked with dust and damp soil. They move slowly, conserving their strength. A basket is filled. Then another. The loose mud and plants are carried away from the water's edge. The baskets are emptied onto a growing pile that will later dry beneath the sun and become useful earth for other purposes. Nothing is simply thrown away. The land provides. The people return the favor. A young worker pauses and looks toward the fields. From where he stands, he can see the village rooftops in the distance. Small shapes of mud brick resting beneath palm trees. Thin lines of smoke rising from cooking fires. The river shining beyond them. It is a peaceful sight. He has seen it many times. Yet it never feels exactly the same. Morning light changes. The river changes. The wind changes. Each day carries its own quiet character. On the far side of the fields, merchants begin preparing for a journey. Their donkeys are loaded with baskets of grain, dried dates, woven cloth, and small pottery vessels. Before leaving, they check every rope and knot carefully. The roads beside the Nile can be long. A broken strap far from home can turn a simple journey into a difficult one. An older merchant teaches a younger helper how to secure a heavy basket. The young man tries. The knot loosens. The older merchant does not become frustrated. He simply unties it and shows him again. Slowly. Patiently. The same way many skills are learned in this world. By watching. By repeating. By making small mistakes and trying again. The merchant road passes near the canal. For a brief moment, farmers and travelers share the same path. They exchange greetings. A farmer asks about distant villages. A merchant asks about the harvest. News moves along the Nile in this way. Not quickly. Not loudly. But steadily. People carry stories as naturally as they carry goods. A fisherman returning from the river stops beside the canal bank. His boat is empty now. The morning catch has already been taken back to the village. He sits for a moment beneath the shade. His hands rest on his knees. The quiet movement of the water catches his attention. He watches a small leaf floating downstream. It turns slowly as it travels. Sometimes it moves near the bank. Sometimes it drifts toward the center. Eventually it disappears around a bend. The fisherman follows it with his eyes until it is gone. Small moments like this fill the spaces between tasks. Ancient life was not only work. It was also waiting. Watching. Resting. Noticing. Inside the village, the afternoon meal preparations begin. Women gather ingredients collected earlier in the day. Grain is measured carefully. Vegetables are washed. Herbs are crushed. A clay pot is placed above a small fire. The flames are controlled and gentle. Cooking requires patience. A meal cannot be hurried simply because someone is hungry. The ingredients need time. The flavors need time. The same patience found beside the canal is found beside the cooking fire. A child sits nearby watching the bread being prepared. Small hands reach toward the dough, but the child waits for permission. The mother smiles and gives a small piece to shape. The result is uneven. A little crooked. But the child looks proud. Someday those hands may prepare bread for another family. Someday they may carry water. Someday they may stand beside the canal. For now, they are simply learning. The village continues around them. A carpenter works beneath a shaded shelter. His tools are arranged neatly beside him. He shapes a wooden beam that will become part of a doorway. Each movement is careful. The sound of his work travels gently through the air. A soft tapping. A pause. Another tap. The rhythm blends with the flowing canal and distant voices. Nearby, a woman repairs a torn basket. The reeds have become worn after many journeys. She removes the damaged sections and replaces them with fresh ones. Her fingers move quickly but calmly. The basket will serve again. Objects in this world are not easily discarded. They carry memories. A repaired basket may have carried grain from several harvests. A repaired sandal may have walked along the riverbank for years. A repaired fishing net may have fed a family through many seasons. Care gives ordinary things long lives. As the afternoon approaches, the canal workers begin another inspection. The sunlight is stronger now. The shadows beneath the trees become precious places of rest. They move from one section of the waterway to another, checking each small channel. The farmer who learned from his father walks beside his own son. The boy carries the same wooden rake he held earlier. He is tired now. But he continues. His father notices. He does not tell him to work harder. Instead, he tells him to rest when needed. The land requires patience. People require patience too. The boy sits beneath a palm tree for a few minutes. He drinks water from a clay cup. He watches the canal. The same canal his grandfather once watched. The same canal his father now cares for. Perhaps one day he will stand here with his own children. Perhaps he will teach them to listen to the water. The thought remains quiet. Like everything else beside the Nile. The afternoon slowly deepens. The fields continue drinking from the hidden channels. The village continues preparing its meals. The river continues flowing. And beneath the endless Egyptian sky, the small canal carries on with its ancient purpose, quietly connecting the hands that maintain it, the families that depend upon it, and the generations who have learned that even the simplest streams of water can hold the memory of an entire way of life. The afternoon begins to soften. The strongest heat of the day slowly settles over the valley, resting upon the fields like a heavy blanket. The bright sunlight spreads across the Nile, across the rooftops of the village, and across the narrow paths where countless footsteps have passed for generations. The hidden canal continues its quiet work beneath the warmth. The water does not know the feeling of tiredness. It does not stop because the sun is high. It does not slow because the workers have grown weary. It simply follows the path shaped for it, moving gently through the earth, bringing the river's gift to fields waiting patiently beneath the open sky. The farmers understand this rhythm. They know when to work. They know when to rest. They know that even the strongest hands need moments of stillness. As the afternoon grows warmer, the village becomes quieter. The sounds change. The sharp movements of morning labor become softer. The voices become lower. The footsteps become slower. Many people return beneath the shade of their homes, allowing the thick mud brick walls to protect them from the heavy sun outside. Inside these homes, life continues at a gentler pace. A mother sits near a doorway, repairing a piece of linen cloth. The fabric rests across her lap. The needle moves carefully between her fingers. The work requires attention, but it does not require hurry. She has repaired many garments during her lifetime. Some belong to children who have now become adults. Some belong to family members who are no longer alive. Every thread carries a small memory. A place where someone once worked. A journey someone once made. A season someone once experienced. Nothing disappears completely. Not in a place where people remember. Outside, a young servant carries water from one house to another. The clay jars are heavy, but the task is familiar. He walks slowly to avoid spilling even a small amount. Water has always been precious. Every drop has traveled a long distance. From the distant river, through the canal, into the fields, into the storage jars, and finally into the hands of the people who depend upon it. The journey of water is also the journey of life itself. Near the village edge, a group of builders rests beside a wall they have been repairing. The wall is not part of a grand palace. It is only a simple boundary around a family courtyard. But the care given to it is the same. The builders mix mud and straw together, pressing the mixture between their hands before placing it carefully into gaps. The material is humble. Earth, water, plant fibers. Yet with patience, these simple things become shelter. A home. A place where children sleep. A place where families share meals. A place where stories are told after sunset. The builders sit quietly for a while. One drinks from a clay cup. Another closes his eyes beneath the shade. The desert wind moves gently around them. It carries the smell of dust and warm stone. It reminds them that beyond the green fields, the great desert stretches endlessly. The Nile is a narrow ribbon of life surrounded by a vast world of sand. And along that ribbon, people have learned to create homes, gardens, and communities. The canal is one of the reasons they can remain here. A small waterway. A simple channel. A quiet creation. Yet it allows fields to flourish where the land would otherwise be dry. Farther away, a group of fishermen prepare their boats for the evening. The hottest hours have passed. Soon the air will become cooler, and the river will welcome them again. They inspect their wooden paddles. They check their nets. They replace worn cords with fresh ones. A fishing net is never finished. It is always being repaired. A single tear may seem small. But small problems become larger if ignored. The fishermen understand this. The farmers understand this. The canal workers understand this. Ancient life is filled with small acts of prevention. Care before damage. Attention before loss. Patience before difficulty. As the fishermen work, they speak quietly about the river. One remembers a place farther north where the water moved differently. Another talks about a large fish caught many years before. Their stories are not written down. They are carried only through memory. A young fisherman listens carefully. Someday he will tell his own stories. And perhaps someone younger will listen to him. The afternoon continues moving. A few clouds appear far above the western horizon. They are thin and pale. They do not bring rain. They simply pass slowly across the endless sky. The people notice them. Weather matters here. The sky is always watched. The river is always watched. The fields are always watched. Life depends upon noticing small changes. A farmer walking beside the canal sees that one section of the bank has become slightly softer. He places his hand against the earth. The soil gives way just a little. He makes a small mark beside it. Not today. Perhaps tomorrow morning. There is no alarm. No fear. Only awareness. The canal has many seasons behind it. It has survived countless repairs. It will receive one more. Near the water, a small group of children gather after their midday rest. They are quieter than they were in the morning. The heat has taken away some of their energy. They sit near the reeds, watching insects move above the surface. One child places a small piece of wood into the current. They watch as it slowly travels away. It follows the same path as leaves, flowers, and tiny branches carried by the river. The children imagine where it might go. Perhaps to another village. Perhaps to another field. Perhaps farther than they could ever walk. The canal becomes a road for their imagination. As the sun begins its slow descent, the workers return to their tasks. The evening is approaching. The cool air will soon arrive. There is still enough light for a few more hours of gentle work. The farmer picks up his shovel once again. The fisherman lifts his repaired net. The builder returns to the wall. The baker begins preparing tomorrow's dough. The village slowly moves toward another familiar evening. The canal reflects the changing light. Gold becomes amber. Amber becomes soft brown. The water continues flowing. Always flowing. Through the hands of workers. Through the fields of grain. Through the memories of families who have lived beside it. And as another day begins to settle toward night, the hidden canal remains exactly what it has always been, a quiet path of water carrying the patience, effort, and hopes of ordinary people living beside the timeless river of ancient Egypt. The evening arrives slowly across the Nile Valley. The harsh brightness of the day fades away, leaving behind a softer world of warm colors and long shadows. The fields that looked endless beneath the midday sun now appear peaceful and gentle beneath the lowering light. The green plants move quietly in the breeze, their leaves brushing against one another like a soft whisper passing through the land. The hidden canal continues its patient journey. The water that entered from the Nile earlier in the day has traveled through countless small channels. It has touched the roots of plants, filled shallow pools, and cooled the earth beneath the fields. Now, as evening approaches, it reflects the orange glow of the setting sun. The workers begin to slow their movements. The day has given them many hours of labor. Their hands have shaped mud. Their feet have walked dusty paths. Their shoulders have carried baskets and tools. Now the body naturally asks for rest. A farmer stands beside the canal and looks across the fields. He does not see only plants. He sees the work behind them. He sees the early mornings. The repaired banks. The careful movement of water. The meals shared beneath the shade. The hands of neighbors working together. A field is never only a field. It is a collection of countless small efforts. The farmer rests his shovel against the ground. For a moment, he simply listens. The sounds of the village are changing. The louder sounds of the day are disappearing. The voices of workers become quieter. The movement of animals becomes slower. The river becomes the strongest sound. A gentle, endless movement of water. The same sound that has filled these evenings for generations. Nearby, children return home from the canal. Their feet are covered with dust. Their clothes carry the marks of the day's adventures. They speak softly about what they saw. A colorful bird near the river. A fish jumping beneath the reeds. A strange pattern left by an animal's footsteps near the muddy bank. Their world is full of small discoveries. To them, the canal is not only a place of work. It is a place of wonder. One day, these same children will understand its importance in a different way. They will learn how carefully the water must be guided. They will learn how much effort is hidden behind every harvest. They will learn that the peaceful landscape around them exists because generations before them cared for every small detail. But tonight, they are still children. Tonight, they simply walk home beneath the evening sky. In the village, the first cooking fires begin to glow. Small flames flicker inside clay ovens. The scent of warm bread rises once again. After a long day beside the fields, the evening meal becomes a quiet gathering place. Families sit together. They share food. They share stories. They share the peaceful tiredness that comes after useful work. A bowl of grain. A piece of bread. A few dates. Fresh vegetables. Perhaps some fish brought from the river. Simple foods. Yet they carry the taste of the land itself. The bread carries the memory of the fields. The fish carries the memory of the river. The vegetables carry the memory of the canal. Everything on the table is connected. A young woman places fresh bread onto a woven cloth. Steam rises gently from the warm surface. Her younger brother reaches toward it but waits patiently until everyone has received a piece. The family smiles. Small habits are taught quietly. Respect. Patience. Sharing. These lessons are not written on stone. They are learned at home. Outside, the last light disappears behind the western desert. The sky becomes deeper. The first stars begin to return. The same stars that guided travelers. The same stars that watched farmers rest after long days. The same stars that looked down upon the canal when it was first shaped by human hands. An old fisherman sits near the riverbank. His boat rests beside him. He has finished his work for the day. The net is folded. The fish have been delivered. The wooden oar lies across the boat. He watches the sunset reflection disappear from the water. Many years ago, he sat in this same place beside his own father. The memories come quietly. He remembers a younger voice beside him. He remembers smaller hands learning to hold a fishing rope. He remembers evenings when the village looked almost exactly the same. The river has changed in small ways. People have changed. Children have grown. Homes have been repaired and rebuilt. But the feeling remains. The quiet connection between people and water. A boatman passing nearby greets him. The old fisherman lifts his hand. No long conversation is needed. Sometimes a simple greeting is enough. The night grows cooler. The workers return their tools to their homes. Shovels are placed against walls. Baskets are hung beneath covered spaces. Ropes are carefully rolled. Tomorrow they will be needed again. The village prepares itself for sleep. Doors are closed. Lamps are covered. The sounds of cooking slowly disappear. The final conversations become whispers. A mother checks that her children are comfortable. A father places tomorrow's tools near the doorway. An elderly couple sits outside for a few extra moments, enjoying the cool air before entering their home. Above them, the stars shine brighter. The desert wind moves gently across the valley. It carries no urgency. Only the quiet feeling of another day completed. Along the hidden canal, the water continues flowing beneath the moonlight. No workers stand beside it now. No baskets are carried along its banks. No voices call across the fields. Yet the canal remains awake. It continues its silent journey through the darkness. Past sleeping homes. Past resting fields. Past trees that sway gently in the night breeze. The water remembers every path it has traveled. Every season it has passed through. Every hand that has guided it. The canal is more than a channel through the earth. It is a quiet witness. It has watched children become adults. It has watched farmers become elders. It has watched villages grow and change beside the river. And still it flows. Slowly. Peacefully. Patiently. As the ancient Egyptian village settles into another night beside the Nile, the hidden canal continues carrying the gentle waters of the great river through the sleeping fields, waiting quietly for the first light of another morning and another day of simple, steady life. The night settles more deeply over the Nile Valley. The last voices from the village have faded. The cooking fires have become small glowing memories beneath layers of ash. The doors of the mud brick homes are closed against the cool air, and the families within have fallen into the quiet rest that follows a long day beneath the Egyptian sun. Outside, the hidden canal continues flowing. Moonlight rests upon the water. The surface moves gently, carrying small reflections of stars that appear and disappear with every soft ripple. The reeds along the banks sway slightly in the night breeze, their thin leaves brushing together in a sound almost too quiet to notice. The canal does not sleep. It keeps moving through the darkness. It passes fields where grain grows silently. It passes paths where workers walked only hours before. It passes homes where families now rest. The water connects them all. Deep inside one small house near the fields, a farmer wakes briefly during the night. Not because of noise. Not because of trouble. Sometimes the body simply remembers the passing of time. He opens his eyes and looks toward the doorway. A narrow line of moonlight stretches across the floor. For a moment, he listens. The village is peaceful. He hears the soft breathing of his family. The faint sound of the wind moving outside. The distant call of a night bird near the river. And beneath all of it, almost hidden, the gentle sound of water. The canal. The sound brings comfort. He knows that while he sleeps, the fields are still resting beneath the care of the river. He closes his eyes again. Sleep returns slowly. The night continues. Far from the homes, along the edge of the fields, a group of workers who maintain the larger waterways begins a quiet journey before dawn. Their work follows a different schedule. Some tasks are easier during the cooler hours of darkness. The desert air is softer. The earth is firmer. The heat has disappeared. They carry small lamps protected by clay covers, allowing only a gentle glow to escape. Their footsteps are slow. Their voices are low. They walk beside the canal without disturbing the sleeping village. These workers know the waterways beyond the fields. They know the larger channels that divide and carry water toward distant farms. They know where the banks are strong. They know where the earth needs attention. Their knowledge is written not in books, but in years of experience. One older worker walks ahead. He has spent most of his life beside the Nile. He can recognize different types of soil by touch. He can tell when water has moved through a channel too quickly. He can remember where a small repair was made many seasons ago. The younger workers follow him closely. They watch his movements. They learn from his silence. He does not explain everything. Some lessons are understood only through time. They reach a section where the canal widens. The moon shines across the water. The older worker kneels and examines the edge of the bank. He presses his fingers into the earth. The soil is slightly softer than it should be. A small place. A small concern. Nothing dangerous. But something to remember. He marks the location with a small piece of wood. Tomorrow, after sunrise, the repair can begin. The group continues walking. Their lamps move like tiny stars along the dark path. From far away, they would barely be visible. Small points of light moving beside the endless river. The night belongs to many kinds of workers. Some bake before sunrise. Some fish before dawn. Some guard the waterways while others sleep. Every person has a place in the rhythm of the village. No task is too small. No effort disappears. The Nile Valley depends upon thousands of quiet actions repeated every day. As the hours pass, the temperature drops further. The stones beneath the workers' sandals feel cool. The air becomes clearer. The desert stars seem brighter. The milky path across the sky stretches above them like a pale river of light. One young worker looks upward. He has seen the stars many times. Yet tonight they seem especially close. The older man beside him notices. He smiles. The sky has always offered the same quiet comfort. Farmers looked at these stars before planting. Travelers followed them across the land. Boatmen used them during journeys along the river. Families watched them from rooftops after evening meals. The stars belong to everyone. Just like the Nile. The workers eventually return toward the village. Their task for the night is complete. The lamps grow dimmer. The first hints of morning are still far away. The homes remain silent. The fields remain still. Only the river continues its endless movement. When the workers pass the hidden canal, they pause. Even after many years, the sight remains peaceful. The water glows beneath the moon. The reeds stand quietly beside it. The fields stretch beyond into darkness. This is the heart of their world. Not a palace. Not a monument. Not a place built only for rulers. A simple stretch of earth where water, soil, and human effort meet. The workers stand there for a few moments. Then they continue home. The night slowly moves toward its final hours. In the distance, the first birds begin shifting among the branches. The darkness is still deep, but the world is preparing. A new morning will come. Another fire will be lit. Another loaf of bread will be baked. Another farmer will walk toward the canal. Another fisherman will push his boat into the river. Another child will wake and learn the quiet ways of the land. The hidden canal will still be there. Waiting. Flowing. Carrying the same ancient waters through the fields of Egypt. And beneath the fading stars, beside the sleeping Nile, the village rests peacefully, held gently between the memory of yesterday and the promise of another calm morning. The night returns softly to the banks of the Nile. The village has grown quiet once again. The fires have become gentle embers. The last voices have disappeared into the darkness. The mud brick homes rest beneath the open sky, holding families who have finished another day of work, another day of caring for the land that has cared for them for countless generations. Beyond the sleeping homes, the hidden canal continues its slow journey. The water moves beneath the moonlight, just as it has done for so many years before. It passes beside fields now resting beneath the stars. It passes beneath palm trees swaying gently in the evening breeze. It passes along the same paths where farmers once walked with tired feet, where children once played beside the reeds, where fishermen once carried their nets home after a long day upon the river. The canal leaves no grand monument behind. No towering walls. No golden treasures. No carved statues bearing its name. Yet its story remains. It remains in every field that grew green beside the Nile. It remains in every loaf of bread made from grain watered by its channels. It remains in the memories of families who depended upon its quiet flow. The people who cared for the canal understood something simple. Life was built from small things. A handful of earth pressed carefully into a weak riverbank. A repaired basket used for another season. A wooden gate adjusted so water could reach the fields. A seed placed gently into fertile soil. A loaf of bread shared at the end of a long day. These moments may have seemed ordinary. But together, they shaped an entire world. Ancient Egypt was not only a land of temples and monuments. It was also a land of farmers waking before sunrise. Of workers carrying baskets through the fields. Of mothers preparing meals beside warm clay ovens. Of fishermen listening to the river. Of children learning the quiet lessons of the land. It was a land where countless unnamed people gave their time and strength to something larger than themselves. The Nile gave them water. The earth gave them grain. And through patience and care, they gave something back. The hidden canal was part of that relationship. It was a meeting place between nature and human effort. A small path that carried the river's generosity into the hands of ordinary people. Tonight, as the ancient village sleeps, the canal continues to flow. The moon rises higher. The stars remain bright. The desert wind moves gently across the valley. Somewhere beneath the darkness, a farmer dreams of tomorrow's fields. A fisherman rests after the river's long embrace. A child sleeps peacefully, unaware that the same waters flowing beside the village have carried the hopes of generations before. The world has changed many times since those quiet days beside the Nile. The voices of those workers have faded. Their footsteps have disappeared from the dusty paths. Their homes have returned to the earth. But the memory of their lives remains in the landscape they shaped. In the patient movement of water. In the fertile soil. In the endless river that continues its journey through Egypt. And now, as the night grows deeper, the canal becomes almost silent. Only the smallest sounds remain. The whisper of reeds. The gentle movement of water. The soft breath of the wind passing over the sleeping fields. The ancient Nile continues flowing beneath the stars. And beside it, the hidden canal rests peacefully, carrying with it the quiet story of farmers, workers, families, and generations who lived close to the earth and found meaning in the simple rhythm of water, soil, and time. The lamps have gone dark. The village is still. The river continues. And beneath the calm Egyptian sky, everything slowly drifts into silence.